Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision by EO Nashville. This is a podcast by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. We're talking about the decision, those decisions that we make in the heat of battle, running, starting, and growing companies, and the fun that happens when they go right and the bad that happens when they go wrong, how we make them, all those things. With me today, my partner in crime, Mr. Robert Hartline.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about today.
Yes. And with us today is the great and wonderful Deeannah Seymour. I'm really happy to have you here because we go back a few years.
We do.
We met at the Starbucks in Madison, Tennessee. Yeah. I was on the membership committee and Deeannah was applying to be an EO, and my office was up in Goodlettsville. And so I was the guy that was closest to you in proximity. And so I got to meet you there and hear some of the story that I think you're going to share today. And it was just mind blowing.
So it was funny. I hear frequently from the people who were on the board at that time, how you had to share about the interview that you had with me and what I actually did for a living. Yeah.
And so they obviously knew that I was uncomfortable.
They took great delight in hearing you recount that.
The whole room exploded in laughter because the words coming out of my mouth.
You just said the word vagina. Yeah.
Oh, we already have 3 times the listeners now that you said it. Can you say that 3 more times? No, I'm kidding.
They said, I just don't know how else to put it. And I don't know the exact words that I used, but that was one of them.
I'm putting words in your mouth, aren't I?
It was something like that. And then, we still laugh about it at my office.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because, we worked with you guys for a time and it was always
search terms.
Yeah. The search terms that were used to find their products. It was.
Wow. I bet some of those terms are kind of expensive.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be real careful.
Those terms.
But yeah, they was just like, they were talking about, I don't know, silverware or, they were just so used to saying these words and we're like, oh, wow, this is not our territory.
Right. Wow. Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. You're in a world, you're in an industry that is very unique.
Very unique. Yeah. And I was just talking to someone earlier today. It's kind of a pinch me moment every day when my feet hit the floor. I really can't believe this is my life and how blessed I am. And never in a million years thought that I would be an entrepreneur, especially sitting here being interviewed by 2 entrepreneurs. I kind of call myself an accidental entrepreneur, because I had this idea for feminine care. After having worked in the pharmaceutical industry for 20 years, I had been on a lot of antibiotics for sinus infections, and it completely disrupted my flora. It can happen in your gut, but for women, it also happens, in our vaginas. And I was looking for a holistic alternative for feminine care that just didn't exist, that was backed by science. And I came across dozens of studies done on this particular ingredient and consulted with a lot of OBGYNs, and they loved it, but you could only get it in a compounding pharmacy. And it was boric acid vaginal suppositories, and they were very expensive. So I believe, as we'll talk about today, that everything happens for a reason, and there really are no coincidences in life. And because my daughter was playing ice hockey, I actually have the Nashville Predators to thank for this venture. And ice hockey, she was the only girl in a league of 300 boys for the Junior Predators. And her coach had a holistic product manufacturing facility that made holistic products for people and pets. So I went to him with my idea, and he had the vision that I had, thankfully, and is a science nerd too. And he began producing them. And within months, they were the best-selling item in the category on Amazon.
Wow.
And we knew because of the velocity that we were onto something, but most importantly, it was the reviews of the women who had tried it, and it was truly life-changing for them. So that's how it all began.
That's amazing.
And let's go to the reviews and the impact that you're having with your product. I mean, it is how common is this?
So the issues, so my products in the US were marketed for vaginal odor, and in Canada were required to market for yeast infections. So those two issues are two of the top reasons a woman will visit a doctor in her lifetime. Very, very common. Most women will have one of those issues at some point in their lives, but we really don't talk about these things. And that's another thing that we're trying to do, is remove the stigma associated with this, because it's just a fact of life. And that's something we're trying to do through our marketing as well, and raise awareness.
And so it's impacting, obviously, it's impacting them, but it also affects the marriage.
Oh, absolutely.
Or a relationship. Or
it's been so remarkable to, we go to over a dozen conferences every year. And we first realized that about 30% of our visitors to our website are men. And we, will be in conversations with women and men. And we've had couples approach us saying, you saved our marriage. This product saved our marriage. Because if you think about, if you have a problem, either, ED as a man, or with a vaginal health issue, it affects all aspects of your lives. And, it's psychologically, emotionally, socially, intimately. We've had women say, of course, I didn't want to be intimate. I didn't want to exercise because they didn't feel confident, being around others in a gym. They didn't want to put a bathing suit on, so it affects their social lives. And also, we've had many, many women say, I couldn't even get a pedicure because I was so concerned that someone might smell me. And it has nothing to do with hygiene. It's actually, an issue that's internal in the vagina that no matter how many times you wash, which is, you can't help it. So that's another thing, is letting women know and men know that it's not their fault.
Right.
Because there's so much shame associated with this as well.
So it's just so special to have something that provides such value to people, where they
Yes.
could save a marriage or a relationship, or
Yes.
that's remarkable. So what brought you to EO?
So I am in WeBank, the women-owned Women Business Enterprise National Council, and we're a certified woman-owned business. And through WeBank, I was at a conference in Nashville, and I met Judy Krupinski. She used to be Judy Gatina, and she had moved to Nashville from LA and is an EO cheerleader. She loves EO. And I remember our first friend date. And she just was like, you need to look into this. So I did. And I tell people, I wish I had known about it so much earlier. Here I was going from the pharmaceutical industry. I'd been in it for 20 years. So I didn't start this venture until I was 42. And I had never had a business class in my life. I lived in my office. Thankfully, my business partner is co-located with me and has been a phenomenal mentor, Mark Faulkner, for me. But I felt those four walls of my office just kind of closing in, and I felt isolated and alone. I'm at my office 7:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night, and I love what I do, but I felt alone. And when I found the women through WeBank, I was like, oh my goodness, there's other people like me. And I came into EO, and I just was blown away at how welcoming everyone was. And I didn't feel alone anymore. Everything that I'd been feeling and experiencing, hundreds of other people had as well. And it's been a game changer for me.
Yeah. So when you got into EO, I know it was for me and Eric, you're like barrage of new information, and there's 1,000 different avenues and learning. There's so much you can pick from, right?
Right.
What would you say was the biggest transformation in the business, or with you?
Yeah. So it really, when I started getting involved on the board, and with membership committee, it really flipped a switch for me. And I guess I was able to peek behind the curtain, if you will, and see, all that goes into EO. And having the opportunity to attend the Global Leadership Conference was just amazing. Went to the first one with you in DC.
Yes.
That's when we first met.
Yes, first met.
Yeah. And I then, it's like the whole world of EO was open to me, literally the whole world of entrepreneurs, and to interact with people from India and Singapore and all over the globe. And I also was able to really start digging in and taking advantage of like the my EO different groups that are available, really for industries. So I'm in the My EO manufacturing group. I was actually on a great AI call with them yesterday, the My EO consumer products group. And to be able to go on your phone on an app and ask a question to the world, because that's really what you're doing. Does anybody have a manufacturing facility that makes XYZ? And you have people from all over the world saying, well, I don't, but I know someone who does. Or does anyone have a good broker for a natural channel? Just things that many people would search for months to find the answers to. It's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
So,
somebody that's had the experience working with them or knows somebody and can make that introduction and just speed up the whole process, right?
It's been amazing.
Is that the Connect app because I know there's been some changes in technology. This is probably going down a rabbit hole.
It's actually through WhatsApp.
It's, okay.
The different groups that you can become a member of, and then you're on that thread.
Yeah.
But that might be.
Well, there's a new app too. Maybe we can feature that on some future episode. But glad that's it's always beautiful when you get those tools, and the experience that you have being a member of an organization outweighs whatever it is that you pay. I don't even notice what I'm paying anymore.
No, absolutely. It's inconsequential because the value is so great. And I would encourage anyone, the more you get out of it what you put into it, and the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. It's so true.
When we sat and talked in DC, I remember so vividly you telling your story of the business, and I was just enamored by it, but also the challenges you have faced.
Yes.
Doing this business, and that you would have to fight big battles. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Well, I can't really talk about those battles just yet, but I will be able to at some point. But I was having this conversation earlier too, that someone was asking me what they thought my greatest quality or trait was in business, and I was thinking about it, and I have to say, it is. Oh my gosh! My brain just went blank.
It happens. This is your third interview of the day.
It is my third
you get
interview.
A little grace.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Oh my gosh!
You want me to guess?
Yeah.
Perseverance.
Thank you.
There we go.
I did swear I didn't know. I was just taking a wild guess. I mean.
Oh my gosh.
But we have to be.
You have to be. I knew that's why I knew what it was. It's I know some of these struggles that she said, and it's got to be it.
I mean, most people that if they don't have that, they don't start.
No. Yeah. Very, very true. And thinking back, there's no reason I should have started. I was a single mom, of 2 teenagers, but taking that leap, I knew that I had to, and I had to persevere.
I would imagine this discovery, this product, you're looking at it and you're just kind of doing the math, right?
Yeah.
You sitting on the calculator, wait a minute, the calculator doesn't have this many zeros because think of the number of people suffering.
Yes.
That is your product market segment is so huge, and it's.
I think you should get a Nobel Prize. Frankly, you're doing the Lord's work.
Oh. Yes. So I have to tell you that my director of marketing, Jane, came up with a great slogan, and we have it printed on bags. And all these conferences we go to, we hand out these bags, but it's happy vagina, happy life.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's true, right?
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So,
and so like, did you look at it that way? I mean, did you even,
No.
this is how I've often have seen the other entrepreneurs in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
They're always humble.
Yeah.
They're super humble. And it's like, I can tell from the moment I met you, you're doing it for a real good reason.
Yeah.
And it has nothing.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
No, it never has been.
No.
I grew up very humbly. I have just been grateful for everything that I've ever had, and it's never been about the money. And it still is surreal to me when I hear a valuation of my business. It's all ethereal and, whatever. I'm pouring all the money back into the business now because we're growing so rapidly. But no, when I, first started and we're seeing and hearing these reviews from women about what this product has done, particularly guys, I'm going to teach you a little bit about vaginal health here, but feminine odor, what we're marketed here in the US for, it's recurrent 50% of the time in women who have it. And it's debilitating, like we talked about. And many of these women had just, the treatment prior to this was you get on an antibiotic and then you get a yeast infection. Mm-hmm. And then 3 or 4 months later, you're back at the doctor again with the same vicious cycle. So now that these women have an alternative where they don't have to keep going, back to the doctor. Of course, we always recommend talking to your healthcare provider first, but it's particularly been important. And I think I've probably talked to you about this in DC, that for marginalized women who might have great access to healthcare, this product has been a game changer for them, for their feminine health needs. So, I take the state of Mississippi, where I'm from, as an example. And, it's the poorest city in the country, not great access to healthcare. I mean, where I'm from, the nearest doctor's probably 40 to 45 minutes to an hour away. But there's Dollar General and there's Walmart, right up the road. So they're able to have access to care, especially once after their doctor recommends them using our product, they don't have to go and pay for a copay every single time they need to go in. So it really is helping women who are marginalized and might not have access.
Right. Wow. Now, was there a time, things have not always been great. So what do you do in the scenarios where you've had a difficult decision to make? Yeah. And everyone kind of falls in different categories on how they make decisions. And have you brought anything super difficult to your forum for help?
I have. Yeah. And I am in a forum that I've been in now for probably 6 months, and I absolutely love it. They have been great. We recently had our retreat, and, even though I haven't had any, earth-shattering decisions to bring to them yet, there's just this comfort in knowing that I have them available, anytime I might need them. And it really is quite remarkable to have that squad, if you will, those people that, that they'll drop anything for you at any moment and help you with a tough decision or whatever you might possibly need. So it is, and it's to the point where I so look forward to that meeting every single month. And, we finish our meeting, and then the next thing we know, we're at dinner for 3 or 4 hours. So, and we don't want it to end because there's just so much to talk about. And I learned so much too from what other people are going through, and the way they're navigating their issues in business has also taught me so much. Particularly, I'm relatively new to this world. PhD has been in business for 9 years, so it's not like I'm a seasoned entrepreneur, if you will.
You're seasoned more than most.
Well, and I'm recalling the conversation that we had at Starbucks that morning. And so Deeannah has made tough decisions even before EO.
Yeah. Yes. Well, aren't you smooth?
That's why they put me behind this microphone.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not just a pretty face. I've got skills.
Yes. I experienced something that changed my life forever. Yeah.
You want to dig into that?
Sure. Let's dig in.
Blew my mind, frankly, when you told me this story.
And again, just as I thought, I could never imagine myself as an entrepreneur. I could never have imagined myself as a living organ donor. So it was, again, nothing happens by coincidence. And this story is, it'll blow your mind when you think about how everything was divinely choreographed. So, but I'll dig in. It's my daughter, in addition to playing ice hockey, she also played soccer and was on a team. One of her teammates' mothers became pregnant with her third child, a son. And we were elated, just overjoyed for her. And then throughout the pregnancy, realized that the baby unfortunately had a very, very rare condition and had kidneys that were not functioning and was not expected to live for maybe even a week. So, every week we're seeing the Angie and Jake Mayer. I'm sorry, Darren is the dad, Angie and Darren. And, it's, what do you say to somebody? Right. It's just, you loved on them. And so it came time for Angie to deliver, and she did, and hospice was immediately called in with the priest. So he was baptized and given his last rites. And Jake was their son at the same time. And thank God, the neonatologist he's like, you know what, I'm going to call Vanderbilt and talk to Dr. Walsh and just kind of see what he has to say about this situation. And Dr. Walsh said, you know what, send Jake over to Vanderbilt and we're just going to see what we can do. And the backstory here is that I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and Vanderbilt Children's Hospital was my home away from home. And I was there, 3 to 4 days a week. And Dr. Walsh was my friend. And I was in the NICU there. That was where I worked there. And so we were all keeping tabs through a group text on the mayors and what was happening. And so lo and behold, Dr. Walsh and the team at Vanderbilt, Jake was staying alive. And crazily enough, he was put on a specialty formula that I was selling. And so I would go into the NICU and actually Angie and Darren didn't know this until after the fact, but I would go into his pod and sorry, I get emotional about this, but just pray over his little body because he wasn't expected to make it. And the nurses, and we'd all stand there and cry. But sorry. But God was good, and Jake grew bigger. And So healthy enough to be put on dialysis at this point. So can you imagine? I mean, he's a miracle child. So he got put on dialysis and got sent home, which was, we were just in awe that this was happening. And he shouldn't even be alive. So when he was 2, he was healthy enough to be put on the transplant list. And his dad, Darren, matched as a donor. And they had the surgery, and we were just all like, okay, this is it. He's got his second chance at life. This is amazing. Well, 5 days later, Jake rejected his dad's kidney, and we were all just, to say we're devastated doesn't do it justice. We, and Darren, was questioning how, God, what are you doing? How could you, I gave my son my kidney. How could he not have accepted it? So I'll tell you, Angie and Darren are 2 of the most faithful people that I know. And so Jake went home again and got put on dialysis again. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, when you're on dialysis, your mineral absorption is very poor. So, I mean, he would break bones just left and right because his bones weren't absorbing the calcium. So during this time, he was still on this specialty nutritional product that I represented. And, I stayed in touch with updates via Facebook, and I would drop off some of that formula on their doorstep to cover what insurance wouldn't cover. And so we loosely kept in touch. So while Jake was at home trying to put on some more weight, I had accepted a position in the pharmaceutical company where I covered the entire state of Tennessee. And I was literally driving from Knoxville to Memphis. And it is, I'm going to tell you a statistic. So when I talk about this, you'll understand the significance of it. But there's around, between, I think, around 5,500 people a year that are living organ donors in the whole country. So it's not a lot of people. And in Memphis, I had a colleague who went through the organ donation process and donated a kidney. And then over in Knoxville, I had a customer. This is all within like 4 months, a customer who was donating a kidney. So the odds of me being close to 2 people within that span of time who are both living organ donors, I mean, I don't know what the odds are, but they're pretty small. And I was able to follow both of their journeys intimately and just see how phenomenal that process was, not only for the recipient, but even more so for the donors, these 2 amazing women that I knew. And so I was closely involved with that. And then I just like, man, that is just so incredible. And went on, with my life. I'm busy raising my 2 kids. And so I was looking at Facebook one day, and I noticed that a woman in my neighborhood had posted this post that's had a photo of little Jake, and it said, Jake needs a kidney. And y'all, immediately I knew it was me. I mean, I looked at that, I opened it, and I'm like, well, that's going to be me. And it was just, I knew I was going to match. I knew I was going to be the one. So I immediately clicked the link and went on to the Vanderbilt website and applied, and I didn't tell anybody. And because how do you say that? Like, I'm gonna give my kidney away. So I actually, a friend of mine who was the dietitian at Vanderbilt taking care of Jake was one of my best friends, and we were going to run the marathon together in Chicago. And I was like, she was the first person I told. I was like, Jenna, I can't run that. She's like, what are you talking about? And I said, you know Jake? She goes, of course I know Jake. She goes, I said, I signed up to be his donor. I said, and I'm going to match. And she was like, what? And so I didn't tell Angie and Darren. I didn't tell my kids. I didn't tell anyone. It's like, because I knew that there were going to be naysayers and I didn't want that negative energy. So I went through the process of the all the medical background checks. It was very extensive. And I was struggling with, how do I tell the mayors this? Because I just didn't know how to do that. And again, talking about no coincidences. One of my best friends from high school and college was in a comedy duo and from LA, and she was in town. So I had posted on Facebook, I have an extra ticket. Does anybody want to go? I have a few extra tickets. So I had 3 people reach out to me, and one of them was Angie. I hadn't seen Angie in months. And I'm like, okay, this is it.
Oh, wow.
So we meet at Williamson Medical Center to carpool down to Zanies together. And I pull up, and this other friend, Nancy Russell, was there. And I got out of the car and I just started sobbing. She was like, what is wrong with you? And I told her, and then she started crying. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell Angie. So anyway, we got in the car, rode down to Zanies. We get out of the car, and I just start bawling. And Angie's like, are you okay? And I was like, what? And I happened to be at Vanderbilt that day, all day for the test. And was a perfect match. And she was like, and I said, yeah, I'm okay. And she's like, are you pregnant? I just laughed. I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. And I was like, the reason I've been at Vanderbilt all day is because of Jake. And then we both just hugged and cried. And so it was the perfect opportunity, to tell her. And then that was in, probably July. And then in September, we had the surgery, and it was so cool to be able to be a patient in the children's hospital. By the way, it was a lot of fun.
A lot of ice cream,
Jello, anything I wanted. But it was funny when I was checking in to admissions. They're like, "Oh, where's your child?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm the patient," and because that doesn't happen a lot there. And well, first of all, the fact that a grown woman's kidney can go into a 4-year-old little boy shocked me, but it can. And so the surgeons, the whole staff in the OR, they were like, we have never in our lives seen anyone more excited to be cut open, because I could not wait for it to happen. I was giddy. It's just I would do it a million more times if I could. It was a bigger gift to me probably than it was to him. So, but it completely changed my life and prepared me, to know when I'm being guided, which helped me also know when I was being guided to leave my corporate job and to become an entrepreneur. So it was all interwoven and completely choreographed.
That was really a great story. And then also a reminder that we do have this gift to being guided through these tough decisions that are happening around us, and to have some faith that it does work out.
Right. And to me, I mean, I'm a faithful person and a believer, but whatever that is to other people, it's, if that's your intuition, whatever it is you're guided by. But I feel like whatever it is, we need to lean into that more.
So let me ask you a question. So when you meet someone and talk about EO, let's say they join, what advice do you like to give them to have the best journey?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like the more involved you are, the more you get out of it. And, unfortunately, I joined in 2019 of the fall, and then COVID happened. So I felt a little disconnected. I mean, I think we all did during that year. But my goodness, thank the Lord for EO during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Jeez. And all Samira and the team did to guide us all. But I think put it like become involved in a committee, attend events, as many events as you can just to make those connections, because that's what life's all about, right? I mean, it's all about connections. And how many times have I, met someone who has introduced me to someone like 3 removed, but it's all because of this connection. And I showed up to something that I probably didn't really ever want to go to.
Yeah.
But then I got so much out of it. And sometimes it doesn't pay off until, 2 or 3 years later, but it's so worth it.
Wow.
So kind of put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there. Awesome.
It's like being open to possibilities.
Yeah.
When you open yourself, then they tend to come to you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Resiliency was the word.
Resiliency. Okay. I was close.
All brain dead. By the way, it's Friday afternoon for.
So thank you so much for sharing wonderful stories.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful blessing that you've given women.
Yeah. And men.
Yeah.
And men. Yeah. And what a great story. What a great story.
Thank you.
Listen, if you are an entrepreneur right here in Nashville, go visit us at eonashville.com. Learn how 345 of us exist in your city, where you can come into a forum and share a challenge that you may have. And maybe there's some experience in the room that could help you navigate that. Join our community. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.